Christmas Eve last season. And today's game being broadcast in Spanish where available using the SAP button on your television. As we are just about ready, LA has won the toss. They elect to defer, and so Cleveland will have the football. Adam, you can't ask for any better weather than this. Temperatures right around 70, 72 degrees. As Travis Coons will kick it away for the Chargers. They've had a tumultuous week with their kicking situation. Nick Novak hurt on their Thanksgiving Day game in Dallas. Had to be placed on injured reserve this week. So Coons, whom they just signed on Wednesday from their practice squad, suddenly thrust into the spotlight. Here is Matthew Days, crosses the 15 and brought down just short of the 20 after a return of 19 yards. So here comes their 21-year-old rookie quarterback, DeShone Kizer, Notre Dame product, comes in off the most prolific passing game of his brief career. As today he makes his 11th start of the season. It's starting to turn the corner as you take a look at the starters in front of him. Spencer Dranko has been the starter since the future Hall of Famer Joe Thomas went down with that triceps injury in Week 7. And of course, the major headline today for the Browns, Josh Gordon making his return, first regular season appearance for Gordon since December the 21st, 2014. And Kizer right to Gordon as he quickly reintroduces himself to NFL fans. A pickup of 9 to get the party started for the Browns.
Well, you get the feeling that Hugh Jackson could not wait to get Gordon involved. And what do? The very first play of the game, a simple slant versus off coverage. Let him see what it feels like to catch an NFL pass.
It gets him into a favorable second and short situation. Run play call. This is Isaiah Crowell. And that'll be enough for a Browns first down. A pickup of 3. Well, this LA Chargers defense has been very good today. They're down a starter up front. No Corey Legion. He's out with a toe injury. So Darius Feinlon has to make his second start of the season, 4th of his career. Denzel Perryman, who missed the first 8 weeks of the season with an ankle injury, is back. He has been a huge integral piece in their turnaround. And Casey Hayward, who has had a very emotional week. The death of his 27-year-old brother in Macon, Georgia on Monday night in a tragic automobile accident. Left the team, rejoined them on Friday after the funeral. Have to wonder where his emotions are as he is on the big stage today against Josh Gordon. And it will be Hayward matched up with Gordon for much of this game, but just can't imagine what Hayward's going through. No, you really can't. And, you just, unless you've gone through something like that, you just can't imagine. But, he wants to be out there, but it's got to be an awfully tough situation for him to be in. He visited with Gus Bradley, their defensive coordinator, on Friday. He said that Hayward, during the week while he was with his family, was FaceTiming with their defensive backs coach, Ron Milas, keeping him abreast of the game plan throughout the week. And he's certainly thinking about Hayward and his family today as Kizer's pass is caught. That's Corey Coleman as a penalty flag is thrown. Coleman brought down just outside the 35-yard line, a pickup of a couple. Walt Coleman is our referee today. And this appears to be a false start against Cleveland. I got to be honest, I'm not sure that I saw a false start. Unless they're saying that they weren't set for a full count after the shift.
Illegal formation on the offense. Number 62 reported as ineligible, and number 19 covered him up. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
All right, so the illegal shift against Austin Ryder, their second-year man out of South Florida. Penalties have been an issue for Hugh Jackson's team all season. The Browns flew here to Los Angeles on Friday to try to acclimate to the time difference as quickly as they could. We'll see how they fare as they look for their ever-elusive first win of the season. This is Crowell. Shot out of a cannon straight up the gut through the teeth of that Chargers defense. A pickup of 17 as they move the chains.
Well, the run game has really started to get going here for the Browns in the last 3 or 4 games of the season. Here it is, a double pull. They're going to kick out. Look at that hole right there. Beautiful cut by Isaiah Crowell to get upfield as fast as he can. That's the kind of production that they're looking for here. And The Chargers like to play a lot of 6 and 7 defensive backs in running situations. I would imagine that's a place where the Browns want to attack.
This is the worst run defense in the NFL. This is Kaiser. He's been one of the best running quarterbacks with all of his issues throwing the football this season. He runs for the first down here. 5 rushing touchdowns, most of any quarterback in the league this season, a pickup of a dozen.
Now, one way to attack a premier player, Joey Bosa, is to make a decision. Bosa sees the run go inside. He stays square to the line of scrimmage, but just can't react fast enough to get the Kaiser around the edge. That's a nice job of taking away somebody on that defense that plays very aggressive against the run.
Well, Kaiser took a very big step last week after that 4-turnover outing Week 11 against Jacksonville. And a good start so far today. This is Crowell, met by a wall of Chargers defenders led by Denzel Perryman, who walked into our meeting on Friday with his shirt off, Adam. And I guess if you got a physique like Denzel Perryman, I wouldn't have a shirt on much myself.
I felt like he was trying to, send a message to me or something like, hey, look at me. But, him back in the lineup is huge for this run defense. They really missed him earlier in the season. The one thing you notice, he's very aggressive. He'll shoot the gap and make plays in the backfield. They need a lot more of that play.
One of the great young talents at the linebacker position. Kaiser, a couple of pump fakes. Now takes a shot down the field intended for Coleman along that sideline. Is Coleman today playing his 3rd game since returning from the broken bone in his hand. Missed 8 games. Played in their opener and then hurt week 2 in their game against Baltimore. One of the bright young stars. So they hope the kid will maximize his potential.
Yeah, for a team that most of the season has struggled to have playmakers at wide receiver, this is really the first time. You have Josh Gordon on one side, Corey Coleman now getting back into the feel of things. I would imagine that Hugh Jackson is going to try and take some big play opportunities with that great speed that he has on the field.
8th play of the drive that began at their own 19. Little read option play. Kaiser ducking inside the Chargers 40, well short of the first down, a pickup of 5. And it will be 4th down as Hugh Jackson will send out his punt team, it looks like. Yes, he will, as they will punt it away here from the Chargers 39-yard line. Britton Colquitt, their 8th-year punter, and in the top 5 in terms of punt average on the season, will boot it away for the Browns. Colquitt trying to angle this one inside the 10, and it will take a Cleveland bounce. Beautifully done by Colquitt. Excellent coverage down the field as they will pin the Chargers deep on their own side. There's the great Phillip Rivers, AFC Offensive Player of the Week. After one of the most prolific passing games of his NFL career, the future Hall of Famer today becomes the active leader in consecutive starts, 188th straight with Eli Manning and that controversial benching in New York. So the Chargers start deep on their own side of the field. Rivers to the airways to begin, finds Keenan Allen for the first down pickup of 11. How about the starters in front of this rejuvenated Chargers offense? Russell Okung, the big free agent acquisition coming over from Denver. He has been a major piece for this offensive line that had been a maligned group the last couple of years. And Keenan Allen, career high in receiving yards Thanksgiving Day in Dallas, 172. And he has been just off the charts over the last couple of weeks. 23 catches, 331 yards, 3 scores over their last 2 games. This is Melvin Gordon on his first attempt of the day. Crosses the line of scrimmage and tackled by Myles Garrett. How about this Greg Williams coach Cleveland defense? They've lost 2 defensive starters the last couple of weeks, Emmanuel Ogbah and Jamie Collins. Myles Garrett has had to deal with an assortment of injuries. The concussion a couple of weeks ago making his return. He's been incredible. Joe Schobert, 2nd in the league in tackles. And Jason McCourty, who missed a couple of games last month with an ankle injury, among the league leaders in interceptions, starting at one cornerback. Rivers from the gun on 2nd and 9. Quick release over the middle as Rivers finds his tight end Hunter Henry for a pickup of 5. And this chess match, Adam, between Rivers and Greg Williams, who loves to apply the pressure and blitz, is going to be fascinating today.
Yeah, it sure is. And you're going to have to see, does Greg Williams, is he going to give different looks? So far in this game, they've lined up in their base defense. They haven't done a lot of disguising. And you see if Phillip Rivers sees what you're doing pre-snap and he knows you're going to be in zone coverage, he's going to get the ball out of his hands and move the offense down the field.
Well, the other thing between those two, they're both fiery personalities, both love to talk. As Rivers slings it over the middle, and it is caught. That's the second-year stud tight end Hunter Henry out of Arkansas, a pickup of 12, and another Chargers first down.
Yeah, how about Hunter Henry? The second-year player is finally starting to make some plays in this offense. The last 2 weeks in particular, and last week, 5 catches, 76 yards, and it seems like Rivers, he has matchups all over the field, and they start getting Henry involved early, working on those linebackers and safeties. Tough offense to stop.
Third highest graded tight end in the league, according to Pro Football Focus. He has been terrific. This is Gordon breaking tackles. Football came loose, but down by contact. A 14-yard burst by Gordon, running behind this retooled offensive line. A first down.
Yeah, right there. Beautiful job up front of attacking the Cleveland Browns. Kick out, you see the Spencer Pulley get up on the linebacker, create that lane, and Greg Williams really disappointed in his run defense from a week ago. Felt that they lost the battle at the line of scrimmage.
Hard to believe the Chargers are the only team in the NFL that has not scored an opening drive point on the season. Last week they drove down the field and then missed a field goal. That was the play that, of course, Nick Novak tweaked his back injury. So they have moved the football up and down the field, and this has certainly been one of the most prolific offenses in the league over the last couple of weeks. 54 points against the Bills 2 weeks ago, and then last week in Dallas they rolled up over 500 yards of total offense behind Ken Wisenhunt.
And you can see, Phillip Rivers using kind of a muddle huddle. Everybody kind of gathering about 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and it's kind of navigating and directing traffic.
Four wide receivers for Rivers on 2nd and 9. Pocket starts to collapse, and Rivers with that pass a little bit short. There is a marker thrown. Antonio Gates was the intended receiver. Flag thrown behind the line of scrimmage.
Number 76, offense, 10-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
Looks like Myles Garrett is limping off the field. That penalty against Russell Okung. Garrett, of course, had the high ankle sprain that cost him the first 4 games of the season, then the concussion. So they'll have to take a look at him, and Nate Orchard will come on, at least for the moment. So obvious concern on that Cleveland sideline.
Yeah, that's going to hurt Cleveland because, they lost Emmanuel Ogbah, who had 5 sacks. And really outside of, 4 sacks, and really outside of Garrett, that was the only other person on this defense that was able to put one-on-one pressure. So now Greg Williams maybe has to think about sending some pressure to get to Rivers.
Rivers on 2nd and 19. That pass was deflected. It's caught nonetheless. It's Travis Benjamin, the former Cleveland Brown, on the catch, making something out of nothing, a pickup of 9. Another look at the injury to Garrett as Okung was called for the holding penalty. And you see Garrett just kind of come up hobbled at the end of the play.
Yeah, he kind of lands a little awkwardly on that right ankle, but they need number 95 back, and he is the premier player on this defense, both against the pass and also has done some great work against the run.
2nd among all rookies in sacks, 5 behind only Cincinnati's Carl Lawson. 3rd and 10, Rivers throwing a dart right up the seam. That's right at the first down marker, and they've got it. All reliable Antonio Gates, a pickup of 12 as they move the sticks.
Right there between the hash marks, and that's the place where you want to attack the Cleveland Browns. They have had a really hard time playing the tight ends in the middle of the field. They play their middle linebacker back. Joe Schobert, he's trying to get back to work the deep middle. And so that makes a natural seam in between the hash marks. And again, look how fast Phillip Rivers in this game has gotten the ball out of his hands.
Myles Garrett back on the field for the Browns. Rivers going to roll out here on 1st and 10. Probes the defense and finds Henry again. As those two finding the early chemistry in this game, a pickup of another 12. And another Los Angeles first down.
That's tough on the defense because Henry comes out of the backfield from the other side and he falls down. There was a collision, he falls down, so as a defensive player you say, okay, he's not going to be a problem, but he gets up, and because nobody was able to second contain and make Rivers throw the football, he was able to prolong it, look back inside, and he finds Henry over the middle.
Rivers coming off that 434-yard passing game, the 3 touchdowns without a pick at Dallas. He has been flawless during this 7-game stretch. Rivers, little underneath pass. This is Gordon inside the 30, close to the 25-yard line of Cleveland. And a good-looking drive continues for the Chargers. Gordon so elusive in the open field to pick up a 4.
They're really nice disguise by Cleveland. They're trying to take a shot with Keenan Allen to one side, and you know, that's one thing that Phillip Rivers has really gotten his backs involved a lot in the passing game, whether it's Melvin Gordon on those little flare routes or the rookie Austin Eckler, but you know, not afraid to dump it off to his running backs and let them do some work after the catch.
11th play of the drive for the Chargers that began, keep in mind, at their own 4-yard line. Gordon, the lone setback. Rivers from the gun. That's Eckler in motion. Here's Gordon taking on tacklers, fighting his way to the 20-yard line. A pickup of 4. And we have just been told that it is now indeed a final from MetLife Stadium. And look at the New York Jets beat Kansas City, and that is awfully good news and surprisingly good news for the Chargers, who can win now and end the day tied with Kansas City atop the division. Just incredible.
It really is. And just to start out the season 0-4, and then how Kansas City started out, it's just pretty unreal how an NFL season can play out in December.
The Chiefs, of course, got off to the 4-0 start. Rivers taking a shot. End zone incomplete. Trying to go back shoulder to Allen. A little bit off target. And so the Chargers drive stalls, and here comes Travis Coons to attempt a field goal.
Yeah, this release. Look how Allen gets open. Little stutter, and then he explodes. Jason McCourty has to play catch-up, but he's so close to the sideline. You know, Rivers tries to put that on the back shoulder, but there's just not enough room for Allen to come down in bounds.
Told you about Nick Novak's injury, placed on IR. So Travis Coons, who was in Lake Havasu working for his dad's construction company when he got the call on Monday, worked out Tuesday. They signed him Wednesday, and his opening kick off the upright and no good from 38 yards out.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Low fares, no hidden fees. That's transparency. Walmart. Rock this Christmas with Walmart. And by the 2018 Ford F-150, it doesn't just raise the bar, it is the bar.
So Phillip Rivers drives the Chargers 13 plays, 76 yards. But the drive stalls out. So Travis Coons, their newly signed kicker, misses, clangs it off the upright from 38 yards out, and they still have not scored on their opening drive this season. That, by the way, was their 4th missed field goal on an opening possession in 2017. So DeShone Kizer and company back on the field, and right up the seam, and that pass is incomplete. Intended for the tight end, David Njoku. This was the scene on Thanksgiving in Dallas, their opening field goal attempts of the day. Nick Novak missing wide right. You see him kind of grimacing, that lower back injury. Drew Kaiser had to come on and attempt to kick later, but Novak was shut down eventually. And today, Travis Coons, whom they signed on Wednesday officially. And now you have to wonder where he is psychologically, as he is the 4th different Chargers kicker to attempt to place kick this season.
Yeah, and I know Anthony Lynn was not extremely pleased with what his field goal situation was in our meetings.
Run play is chopped down by Desmond King. You know, we spoke to Anthony Lynn, and he said that the communication just wasn't very well. They were kind of disappointed that Novak didn't tell them just how serious the pain was the week leading up to the game, and then the communication during the game. Didn't know kind of what the pain was, what the situation was. Then their play calling at him was affected. It was just a tough set of circumstances for Lynn and his coaches to work through.
All right, 3rd down. Gus Bradley is not a big blitzer in 3rd down, but he does like to bring pressure in 3rd and long. This looks like coverage.
Kaiser well protected, slinging near side of the field, intended for Gordon. And that pass a little bit underthrown, incomplete. There's a marker thrown behind the line of scrimmage. Again, Walt Coleman is our referee.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 99. Defense, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Huge penalty against Joey Bosa.
That's tough because Bosa is coming around the mountain, and you're going to watch his right arm at the end of the play is going to hit Kaiser right there in the neck area. Now, you know, the rule is no forcible contact to the head and neck area. That, to me, looks like a forearm in the chest, but it's going to be tough to win that call if you're Joey Bosa.
I thought it kind of slipped up.
Yeah, well, you know,
chin
you and I
strap
kind
area.
of, we kind of look at things a little different. You know that I'm more in the let them play category.
I'm kind of the new age, let's protect the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Adam's still a throwback. On your day, that's a pat on the backside from your defensive coordinator, as they'll keep it on the ground here. One play, Duke Johnson Jr. He's been so good for them in the passing game. Excellent pursuit by the Chargers defense. This unit coached by Gus Bradley, as they dump Johnson for a loss of 2. Now coming up Thursday, an NFC South showdown, New Orleans and Atlanta. Thursday Night Football, NFL Network, NBC, and streaming live on Amazon Prime Video. There's Gus Bradley, who's really settled in with this defense. Rough start to the season for them, but they have been terrific during this stretch where they've won 5 of their last 7 and 2 straight. Kaiser on 2nd 12, putting some air under it, far side of the field. It is caught. Was he inbounds? It's Njoku, the rookie. And now the officials say incomplete. There's another marker thrown on the far side of the field. It was Trevor Williams on the coverage.
Offside, number 54, defense, 5-yard penalty, still second down.
That's Melvin Ingram. So now their 2 elite edge rushers have each been called for a penalty on this drive.
Yeah. Ingram coming off the edge just gets a little jump. Look at this chip from Duke Johnson. Hits him right there on the shoulder. Does not allow him to get the pressure. Almost a terrific catch out there by the tight end, but couldn't quite get it down.
The read option play. This is Johnson, whom they have tried to work in more as a runner the last couple of weeks. Johnson inches closer to the 50, a pickup of 4. And now 3rd and 3 coming up. This critical 3rd down area where Kaiser has struggled, but has been a little bit better at him over the last couple of weeks.
Yep. Looks like Hugh Jackson is content to let the quarter play out, regroup on the sideline, and try and come up with a winning 3rd down play against this defense.
So both teams have been able to move the football, but still looking for our first points. We are through 1 at Carson. Chargers Browns on CBS. Beautiful day here in California. Temperatures right around 70 degrees. Plenty of sunshine for the Chargers and the Browns here in week number 13. Chargers looking to continue this terrific streak they've been on. 2 straight wins. They've won 5 of 7 after that 0-4 start. And a win today by the Chargers pushes them even at the top of the AFC West with Kansas City after the Chiefs were beaten today in East Rutherford by the Jets. 3rd and 3. Little underneath pass by Kaiser, finding the tight end that set the valve. And that will be enough for a Cleveland first down. So a critical 3rd down conversion by Kaiser, and the Cleveland drive continues.
Yeah, and I like what Hugh Jackson did on that play. He lined up with Corey Coleman, the wide receiver, in the backfield, and then they shifted him out. So that takes the defense's attention to Coleman. Then you had a slant from Gordon on the other side, and then they just dropped the tight end wide open in the flat.
Hugh Jackson coaching not far from where he grew up. Started Dorsey High School in South Central Los Angeles. Here's Kaiser going to take a shot, thrown towards the end zone, and it is incomplete. Looking in the direction once again of Josh Gordon, who caught a 9-yard pass on their very first play from scrimmage. Good coverage by Adrian Phillips.
Yeah, another nice job of Hugh Jackson trying to attack the backside safety, but number 31, Adrian Phillips, was all over it. He knew exactly what was happening. Josh Gordon in the slot with slot formation, tight end backside. They tried to take a shot, but because of the position back there by Phillips, nowhere for Kaiser to throw the ball.
Ricardo Lewis in motion with Gordon getting a blow here. 2nd and 10 just inside the 45 of the Chargers. Kaiser quick release right up the seam, and boy, he threads the needle, but it's incomplete. Intended for Kenny Britt, who has been an up-and-down player, mostly a disappointment this season since coming over in free agency.
But what a play from the free safety, Trey Boston, who has had just a tremendous season. 4 interceptions this year. He's only had 3 interceptions his first 3 years in Carolina, but having him back there at free safety, he's made a lot of plays and a good break on the ball right there.
You know, those 4 picks have him tied for 3rd in terms of the league lead with his teammate Casey Hayward. He has been fantastic this season for Gus Bradley. 3rd and 10. Kaiser rolls out, probes the defense, going to run for it. Ducks inside the 35-yard line, appears to be a little bit short of that first down marker, forced out of bounds after a pickup of 9, but his running ability now starting to open up the field a little bit for him as Hugh Jackson ponders the situation on that sideline on 4th down.
Yeah, I like the decision to go for it. They've actually been a pretty good short yardage football team, and a lot of it has been DeShone Kizer using his legs, getting him involved, moving the pocket. 3 tight end set right here, but would not be surprised to see Kizer. See a lot of space in here for a slant as well.
Run play. Cole Johnson needed the 34-yard line, and he is stuck. Loss of a yard as Jackson's gamble backfires.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Macy's. And by FedEx. Sign up for FedEx Delivery Manager.
Downtown Los Angeles on a 70-degree Sunday in early December. Downtown LA, an area that has been revitalized over the last decade. Staples Center, LA Convention Center. And about a 30-minute drive to where we are here, StubHub Center in Carson, as Philip Rivers and company taking over from their own 37. Rivers, little play action, throwing it, and that pass is incomplete off the hands of Tyrell Williams, who's been so good for their offense the last couple of years. Adam, take us back to that 4th down stop.
We talked about the importance of Denzel Perryman. He is free. Look how he shoots the gap, and then on the backside, Melvin Ingram just swats the tight end down inside and becomes the free player. But that play was made by Perryman shooting the gap, getting in the backfield, and then Duke Johnson had no chance because of the superb play on the edge by Ingram.
Yeah, Gus Bradley told us on Friday just how huge and what a difference Perriman's return has made. Missed the first 8 weeks of the season with an ankle injury, that non-contact injury that happened in the preseason that a lot of people around the Chargers feared would cost Perryman the season. It's one of a number of athletes that they have on this defense, and a big reason why they've been on this 5-2 run the last 7 games.
You got a bunch formation, 3rd down. You know how much Philip Rivers loves to target Keenan Allen, so watch him trying to get open, and you got Gates on the backside, maybe working a shallow cross.
Browns coming with the blitz, 3rd and 8. Chargers pick it up. Rivers, the little sidearm delivery to Gates. 1st down and more for the Chargers, a pickup of 11. Gates, his 2nd catch. Had gone 2 straight games without a reception before today.
He's been doing it a long time. Gates is flexed out on the backside. You always have to alert shallow cross. Do a good job on the front side clearing out the linebackers, and that's an easy throw for Philip Rivers.
And with that completion, Philip Rivers, 12th straight 3,000-yard seasons for him. 4th longest streak in NFL history, ties him with Eli Manning, whom of course he will forever be intertwined with. Rivers' pass loopingly is caught right up the seam to Keenan Allen. 21 yards and another LA 1st down.
Well, how about Keenan Allen off coverage, and if you give him this much cushion, he will eat you up. Now, Jason McCourty has had a pretty good season and has played at a high level this year, but you cannot give a guy like Allen that much space on those inside routes.
You see Rivers' numbers. He has been surgical till this point, 9 of 11 for just under 100 yards. Rivers on 1st down again over the middle. That's Gates. Already 3 catches for the future Hall of Famer. And just to get back to Keenan Allen, started slowly, of course, had that ACL tear. The year before had that ruptured spleen. He's missed so much time. They were very cautious with him in the preseason, so the slow start was not a huge surprise, but my goodness, he has been prolific the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he really does it all, because as we just saw in the last play, you line him up out wide and he can break down corners, but he has such a good skill set in his route running abilities that they put him inside and let him go to work on those slot corners.
Little 2nd and 1 here. Allen breaking tackles. Inside the 10, it'll be 1st and goal. Chargers, Jabril Peppers, the rookie safety out of Michigan, on the tackle.
It's all about perimeter blocking. You know, we talked about the route running. Now let's take a screen. Now, the yards after the catch, really, in the last 2 games, and he just ate the Dallas Cowboys up. When you give him some space, you know, his ability to kind of maneuver around and weave inside and out traffic is really what has made him special in the last 2 weeks.
We told you 23 catches that he had in their previous 2 games. 18 of them were 1st down conversions. Just incredible. 1st and goal, play action. Rivers probes the defense, looking end zone, throws it far side of the field in the direction of Henry. Incomplete. Jamar Taylor was there on the coverage as Greg Williams trying to hold with this Browns defense.
Yeah, one area that, you know, Greg Williams has struggled with, his defense here, is in the red zone. You know, they try and play their safeties back, put them on the goal line, try and double outside, and I think that's what allowed the inside and the tight ends to really go to work inside on the linebackers. So look for Rivers to maybe look inside the hash marks here as he tries to attack this defense.
And you see Rivers kind of grimacing a little bit. Hard to see where the pain was coming from, but he'll try to grit his way through on 2nd and goal. Rivers with a quick strike delivery to Keenan Allen inside the 5. And quickly brought down by that Cleveland defense. A pickup of 4. It'll be 3rd and goal.
Take a look at that last play. See Trayvon Coley kind of land on the back of Rivers and his feet and his ankle.
Well, that'll certainly get the attention of the coaching staff on that Charger sideline. Rivers, their franchise quarterback, who has been so incredibly durable and still kind of feeling his way through. Doesn't appear to have much stability right now with that left leg. And the obvious concern from Anthony Lynn as they'll run that play clock down and take a timeout. So Kellen Clemens with his antennas up. Well, the good news for the Chargers, looks like Rivers will stay in the game. Was favoring his left leg a moment ago. Talked it over with Anthony Lynn. We saw Kellen Clemens get up for a moment. But for the time being, it looks like it will be Rivers. 9th play of the Chargers drive that began at their own 37.
Nice little matchup, Gates here in the slot.
Rivers to the end zone. Allen had it, couldn't squeeze it. Jason McCourty was with him step for step. And on 4th down, the field goal unit will come out.
Well, this is how you play the pocket. McCourty, look at him, read the eyes in the hands of Keenan Allen. As soon as Allen goes up, puts his hand on the football, you see that left hand right go in there and get that ball out. That is textbook way of playing the fade on the goal line by Jason McCourty. Well done.
One of their solid offseason acquisitions. Former 6th round pick at Tennessee, first 8 years of his career in Nashville, as Travis Coons, their newly signed kicker, missed earlier from 38. This time good on the 21-yarder. Well, Travis Coons could breathe a sigh of relief, at least for the moment. Signed on Wednesday after the Chargers had to place Nick Novak on the reserve IR list. That back injury that he tweaked on Thanksgiving Day in Dallas. So a lot of pressure on that young man, the Alta Loma, California native, San Bernardino County, not far from where we are here in Carson. And a lot on his plate, suddenly thrust onto a big stage with his Chargers team that is suddenly surging after 2 straight wins. And this kick, boy, did it go into the end zone? Yes, it did, as Coons catches a huge break. Well, one of the major headlines today, the return of Josh Gordon, supplemental draft pick of Cleveland in 12, had a good rookie season, and then the record-setting 2013, in which he led the NFL with over 1,600 yards receiving. Suspended for DUI prior to 2014, missed basically 3 full seasons save for the final 5 games of 2014. Multiple stints in rehab. He has tried to put all of his troubles behind him. He was conditionally reinstated by the commissioner November the 1st, practicing with the team since November the 20th. It has been just an incredible story after Adam nearly 3 calendar years away from the game.
And he's only 24 years old. And I had a chance to talk to Al Saunders, the wide receiver coach, and ask him, what are the real expectations? And he said, I just want him to go out and have a good experience and get back on the field.
This is Isaiah Crowell. And he knows fully well that he needs to put everything behind him. He knows the opportunity that the commissioner gave him. The commissioner met with him on November the 1st and told him that day that he would be conditionally reinstated. And Gordon said he was surprised by that, but obviously at that moment knew that all eyes were on him.
And I just want to correct it real quick. He's 26 years old. It's his 4th season, but still a young man who has a lot to play for.
Kaiser on 2nd and 12. Underneath to Crowell, and just watching him warm up, you just forget how freakishly athletic he is. The size and the way that he can move with the quickness was actually working out with Tim Montgomery, the ex-Olympic sprinter the last year, to try to get his body right. But boy, looks like he just stepped out of 2013.
Sure did. 6'4", and he's down to about 220. He was a little heavy last time he practiced with the Browns, but it's all about 3rd downs. Now he's lined up wide outside with Casey Hayward, but they need big 3rd down production from Gordon.
Gordon at the bottom of your picture. Kaiser under pressure, and he is buried. Desmond King, the 5th-round pick, the rookie out of Iowa, getting there for the Bolts.
Really nice disguise from Gus Bradley's defense. Everybody here, they're going to come out at the line, or at the snap of the ball, and then they're going to let King go free. They completely drop King. They double team on Joey Bosa. And talk about a guy that is starting to make some plays. He has been phenomenal this season as a rookie, and comes in with a big sack.
Not bad for a 5th-round pick. Had that 90-yard pick 6 Thanksgiving Day in Dallas, as this punt is shanked by Colquitt. Actually a little bit more distance than initially looked like, but only a 39-yard punt. And good field position for Rivers next.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram. Lowe's. Hurry in today for huge savings on all things winter. And by Pepsi, welcoming you to the fun doesn't end zone.
Little stroll down the Hollywood Walk of Fame, one of the iconic tourist attractions here in Los Angeles. You haven't gotten the call yet from the Walk of Fame folks?
My voicemail was full, so I guess I missed out.
Adam's on that Chandler Walk of Fame as the Rivers-led Chargers offense back onto the field. 1st and 10 as they begin just inside their own 40. Rivers from the gun. Browns giving chase. Little underneath. This is Austin Eckler, the shifty little undrafted rookie out of Little Western State, the Division II school in Colorado. How good has this kid been of late? A pickup of 16.
Well, here's the challenge now. If you're Greg Williams, playing a little bit more man coverage is the screen game. Austin Eckler in the game on 1st down as a defense. You got to say, you know what? Maybe something is up here, and screens have really hurt the Browns this season. They have not been a good screen defense, but that's the challenge playing this team with man coverage.
1st and 10 inside Cleveland territory. This is Eckler again. Eckler, who made the team primarily as a special teams player. We asked Anthony Lynn about him. Said that Eckler walked into his office one of the early days of camp, and Lynn had no idea who he was. Asked him how he could make the team, sent him down the hall to the special teams coach, and he's really kind of given them this Danny Woodhead element in some ways. Woodhead obviously was so good for them as a pass-catching back out of the backfield. Hasn't quite gotten to that level yet, but has been so good for Rivers, who loves that type of player out of his offensive backfield. On 2nd and 3, this is Gordon finding some daylight. Nice little cutback maneuver inside the 30, and a Chargers first down. They pick up 8. Well, tonight, in its 50 years, 60 Minutes has brought you some incredible moments. See the best of America's most watched news broadcast tonight, only CBS. Beautiful Sunday afternoon, Southern California in early December. Spiro Ditas, Adam Archuleta, rest of our CBS crew from StubHub Center.
Watch play action shots if they don't run it.
On 1st and 10, this is Eckler again, breaking the initial tackle. And Eckler all the way down to the 20-yard line after a pickup of 9.
Spiro, you know where you really notice Eckler is just the way he slips off of contact. He's got great balance in the open field, and sometimes, you know, you watch him on tape and guys have a chance to bring him down and tackle him, but he's able to slip right by him. So, you know, that's a guy that you really have to wrap up. You have to make sure that you get a good shot on him, because he'll make you look bad in the open field.
On 2nd and short, this time Eckler is stuck, and you talk to the Chargers strength and conditioning coach, he'll tell you that pound for pound, this is their strongest player, Eckler. An incredible base that he has in his glutes and his legs, so tough to bring down, as they will be faced with another critical 3rd and 3 coming up here.
And he's had great production on 3rd down, but he comes out of the game. Now Melvin Gordon comes into the game. Gordon is splitting out wide. I would imagine he's going to motion back into the backfield to determine the coverage. Phillip Rivers knows that he has man coverage with a pretty good matchup inside. Tyrell Williams has great size against Calhoun.
Rivers looking right, will throw it near side of the field into the shadows, and it's incomplete. Intended for Tyrell Williams, who had the drop earlier. Good coverage by Brian Body Calhoun, who's been one of the top-rated slot corners in the NFL. And so here comes Travis Coons, who's 1 for 1. He's hit from 21, missed his initial attempts from 38 yards out. Has only been with the team since Wednesday, as he will attempt one here from 40. Alta Loma, California native, kicked in college at Washington. Good hold by Clemens, and the kick on target and is perfect. And the Chargers build on their lead. A reminder to keep it here. The Verizon Halftime Report comes your way next. JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, and Coach Cowher standing by. We will send you to New York as they get you caught up around the league. Week number 13 continues to take shape. The Verizon Halftime Report. We told you earlier about Kansas City's loss in East Rutherford, New Jersey today. So a win by the Chargers today will pull them even with Kansas City atop the AFC West. Hard to believe. After the Chiefs started 4-0, the Chargers were 0-4. And by the way, the last team to make the playoffs after an 0-4 start, the 1992 San Diego Chargers, led by Bobby Ross and Stan Humphries. This is Matthew Days, who has had some electric kickoff returns the last couple of weeks. Josh Gordon making his highly anticipated return. Adam, what have you seen so far?
First play of the game, Hugh Jackson open up the present, give him a little action, nice little slant. And then the rest of the time, it's pretty much been Casey Hayward. You see Hayward is step for step running the route right with him. So I think a little bit is expected. You know, they know that the timing between he and Kaiser and, you know, getting out there and playing, and it's not an easy challenge when your first game back in 3 seasons is against Casey Hayward.
Kaiser, quick release, looking in the direction of Gordon. I had a chance to visit with Gordon on Friday, talked about his 2-year-old daughter, Emma. What a profound presence she's made, and a change in his life, wanting to be a good father figure for her.
I'll give you something to play for, won't it?
Sure will.
Browns have to be careful with time now, because the last thing you want to do is give Rivers in this offense another crack at it before halftime, and incomplete pass on first down really puts this offense in a bad spot.
Kaiser's second down pass is caught. This is Gordon on a little crossing pattern, a pickup of 8. Gordon had that catch on their very first play from scrimmage. This is his second reception.
Yeah, just a slant pattern against man-to-man coverage, and Casey Hayward playing off. You know that's going to be an easy access throw inside, but linebackers and safeties inside looking to put a pretty big shot on him. You see third down so far, only 1 for 4 are the Cleveland Browns. Again, if you're San Diego, you really have to keep an eye on Kaiser using his legs. That's where he's been dangerous here in the last few games.
Looks like Hugh Jackson wants to take a timeout. This will be their first. We'll break back in 30 seconds after this from Lowe's. Cleveland looking for their first points, down 6-0. Big 3rd and 1 here. 2 timeouts left for Hugh Jackson and company as their 21-year-old rookie quarterback DeShone Kizer works from the gun. Good blitz pickup. Kizer putting some air under it. That pass is caught. Josh Gordon. One-on-one with Casey Hayward. 28 yards and a Cleveland first down.
This is a great battle. Hayward perfect at the line. Look at Hayward. Plays it perfectly, but Gordon, the strength in his hands to be able to come down with that with Hayward in position is just outstanding.
Quickly get to the line of scrimmage. Read option play run by Duke Johnson as Flash Gordon showing that incredible athletic ability, climbing the ladder for the 28-yard catch.
And really 2 elements to this catch. The way he was able to beat the press, because Hayward played it perfectly at the line of scrimmage to stay with it on the sideline. Great pass from Kizer, but the strength to finish, because Hayward played that about as good as you could possibly play, and Gordon comes down with it.
That brings us to the 2-minute warning. 6-0 Chargers on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by State Farm, here to help life go right. And by Forevermark. Discover the Forevermark Tribute Collection at forevermark.com.
A little stroll down memory lane for Hugh Jackson back in his hometown of Los Angeles. Graduated from Dorsey High School back in 1983, their former star quarterback. South Central Los Angeles, not far from where we are here in Carson. 2nd and 10, Browns working with 2 timeouts, looking for their first points. Kaiser's pass up the seam, it's caught! David Njoku for the Cleveland touchdown! A 28-yard strike from Kizer, and Cleveland can take its first lead.
Last 2 throws from Kizer have been absolutely brilliant. This is the matchup. Njoku on a corner. That's Trevor Williams. And what Kizer sees is a free safety on this side of the field, shadowing the speed and the coverage. He knows that he's going to have space to get between Boston and a cornerback, and he throws a laser to his rookie tight end. Well done in a 2-minute situation at the end of a half for Kizer and the Browns.
Every scoring play subject to automatic review as they try to get another look to see if Njoku had broken the plane of the goal line before he was on the ground, and that was very, very close. As they will now take a look at this in New York with Al Riveron, the head of officials. If it stands, it would be the 4th touchdown catch for David Njoku, their first-round pick out of Miami. And that would be a new Browns rookie record by a tight end if this play is confirmed.
Well, you see the back judge is on the goal line, and he had a great look at it. No knee down right there. He's going to the ground, and
you just don't know where the ball is.
That angle
may
did
be
not
the
look.
best angle here. And the critical thing is here that the call on the field is a touchdown, so they need the proverbial conclusive evidence to overturn this thing. I'm just not sure they have it.
I think that ball clearly on this angle, I think it breaks the plane of the goal line. Good call, and this should stand.
There's Njoku, whom Cleveland moved up to take 29th overall out of Miami.
You know, Spiro, the Browns all season have been looking for playmakers, especially in their passing game. And they kind of had a thought that Josh Gordon, he comes back. Those are the kind of plays that he can give us. They haven't had that.
Play, the ruling on the field stands. Touchdown.
All right, so Njoku with his 4th touchdown catch. And DeShone Kizer with only his 6th touchdown pass of the season, but his 3rd in the last 4 games. And just like that, the Cleveland Browns on the verge of taking their first lead with under 2 minutes left before the half. Browns have not won a game since Christmas Eve of last season, and it came against the Chargers, that game that was won on a last-second field goal in Cleveland. Point after by Zane Gonzalez is good, and the Browns move in front. We'll be back to Los Angeles in a moment, right after this. 28-yard touchdown catch, DeShone Kizer to David Njoku. And that puts the Cleveland Browns in front with $1:55 left before halftime. StubHub Center in Carson. Week 13 between the Browns and the Chargers. Spiro Ditas, Adam Archuleta, our producer Salar Shai, Jim Cornell, art director, rest of our CBS crew. This beautiful Sunday afternoon in Southern California. Good looking kick, a little bit short, will be played by Desmond King. Crosses the 15 out across the 20 and forced out of bounds just short of the 22-yard line, an 18-yard return. Well, players are supporting charitable causes important to them through cleats that are custom designed and inspired by their causes. Discover the stories behind the cleats and bid on players' special edition shoes at NFL.com/mycausemycleats. Terrific initiative that has been a headline throughout the course of the season. So many players do so much that you just don't hear about in their free time, helping some great causes around the country. And so bravo to the players in the NFL. So here's Phillip Rivers, suddenly playing from behind as they begin just outside their own 20. Rivers hit, football is loose. Who's got it? Live football. It appeared to be Russell Okung who fell on it as the Chargers avert disaster.
Brilliantly designed blitz, showing on this side and then wrapping both linebackers as the center goes to kick out to that side. You see that? Joe Schobert is right there. Gordon cannot step up in time to get to that protection, and almost has a huge play right there.
Officials want the game clock reset to 1:41, but what a bright spot Joe Schobert has been on a defense that has really come a long way since last season. Schobert, the second-year man out of Wisconsin who turned 25 a couple of weeks ago. Adams second in the league in tackles entering week 13.
One of the best athletes to come out of the state of Wisconsin, and was an edge rusher in college. Played on the edge last year, never really fit that scheme, but he's turned into quite the playmaker here at middle linebacker.
He's actually only one of 5 players in the league who's been on the field for every defensive snap on the season. His teammate Christian Kirksey is one of the other 5. So they lose 9 on the play. It's 2nd and 19 from the 12. Rivers back to the air. This is caught. That's Benjamin breaking the initial tackle. Benjamin. And finally brought down by the rookie Jabril Peppers from the backup pickup of 39. And a massive play for the Chargers.
Greg Williams again playing aggressive. He played a lot of two high safeties in the first part of the game. More aggressive. Jamar Taylor has to make that tackle on Benjamin.
Benjamin facing his old team for his 2nd straight year. Had that 50-yard catch early in the game last year in Cleveland. This time a pickup of 5 as Melvin Gordon on the reception. Tackled by Christian Kirksey. Chargers have 2 timeouts left as we move under a minute left and a half. Rivers on 2nd and 5 is going to take a shot. Deep down the field, it's incomplete. Once again looking in the direction of Benjamin. Brian Body Calhoun was there on the coverage. Another reminder, the Verizon halftime report comes your way next. JB and the fellas standing by in New York. Get you caught up with scores and highlights around the league. The Verizon halftime report. coming up next.
Sparrow, a little surprised that Greg Williams is being more aggressive. They played bend, don't break defense there on the first few drives and made San Diego earn it. Here he's going a lot of single high safety and putting his guys in one-on-one matchups against one of the best quarterbacks in two-minute situations.
So where they have to go to get into Coons' range. Rivers hit on the release over the middle. It's caught. Hunter Henry, as Rivers barely able to get the football out in time, a pickup of 8. And that will be a first down as the Chargers will take their second timeout. And Rivers takes another hit.
He had to hesitate and hold the ball just for an extra count. They ran shallow crossers from both sides, kind of one of those pick plays, and there was a lot of traffic right there, and he had to wait for Hunter Henry to kind of clear the linebackers, and that's why he had to stay in the pocket for so long.
Rivers, of course, has been banged around a little bit this year, was on the injury report a couple of weeks ago with that concussion, which of course was able to continue, and today becomes the new Ironman leader, moving in front of Eli Manning with Manning's benching in New York. As Rivers making his 188th consecutive start.
And think about shots. You have one timeout, but a completion inbounds going to take about 25 seconds off of the clock.
Chargers down to their final timeout. Little underneath pass here to Keenan Allen on a screen that they set up. Allen picks up only a couple. As that clock moving, Brian Body Calhoun matched up in the slot.
Yeah, the clock is moving. It was a good play call against blitz, but a great play in space by Calhoun.
Little sidearm delivery, incomplete. Intended for Benjamin. Good coverage on the play by Jamar Taylor. So now this is kind of an interesting decision potentially coming up for Anthony Lynn. You know, you've got Travis Coons, who they just signed on Wednesday. They just don't know much about him.
Yeah, that's a tough situation. I would imagine here that this could be maybe 4-down territory. They get close, but challenging situation for Anthony Lynn and part of the game that he doesn't have a lot of trust in.
This would be about a 52-yard field goal from here. Coons missed from 38 and is hit from 21 and 40. Play clock down to 1. Rivers barely gets it off. 3rd and 8. Where does he deliver here? Throwing on the run. It is caught right at the 20 by Melvin Gordon. 14 yards. And that stops the clock as they pick up a first down.
What an outstanding catch by Gordon. Looking like a wide receiver right there on the sideline. Well done.
Chargers have one timeout left. Boy, it was Myles Garrett trying to get over the line of scrimmage before that ball was snapped. Walt Coleman will talk this thing over with his mates.
Neutral zone infraction, number 95, defense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
One thing we should point out, Travis Coons was in camp and the preseason with the LA Rams. He actually kicked a 53-yard field goal in a game against the Chargers as he gets that right leg warmed up. But he's feeling a lot better about a potential kick here as they'll play from the 15.
I would still expect you'd love to save a timeout. You could potentially get 2 more plays here if you don't have to waste your timeout on this next play. So I would expect something to go near the sidelines or take a shot at the end zone.
Rivers on 1st and 5 after the penalty. Far side of the field. It is caught. That's Benjamin again. Stays in bounds, and now Lynn will take that final timeout, a pickup of 11, as Benjamin suddenly making plays happen. His 4th catch for 61 yards in this first half.
This play has to go to the sideline. A cut split right at the bottom of the numbers, and Benjamin runs a speed out. Jamar Taylor's know that he can't beat him deep. Got to come out of his break a little bit cleaner. Now, you got 9 seconds left. You've got time for one more play at the end zone.
Have to be careful though, Adam, right? No timeouts.
No timeouts. The ball's going to go in the end zone. And so you don't want to throw it inside. You want to throw it outside to kind of keep it away from traffic.
So Lynn putting his faith in his future Hall of Fame quarterback Rivers here. No timeouts.
Got no.
Rivers from the gun, looking end zone and incomplete. Well, you saw Kirksey kind of tug at Gates from the back. No penalty flags. And with 4 seconds left, looks like Lynn will send out his field goal unit.
It was a good matchup, but you're going to see this ball is well beyond Antonio Gates. I mean, there's a little bit of hand fighting going on right there, but I thought that was pretty good coverage.
Phillip Rivers, by the way, just moving over the 49,000 passing yards mark in his career. Well, that's the furthest thing from his mind here as Travis Coons gets set for a 22-yard attempt. Missed his first from 38, has hit his last 2. Good snap, good hold, and Coons now 3 of 4 on the afternoon. So that brings us to halftime. Chargers will have the ball to begin the second half. Chargers trying to move into a tie atop the West with a win right now in front, 9-7. Halftime is next after these first half highlights from Verizon and a word from your local station.
Want to stay up to date? Hey Siri, show me football scores.
Back with you from Carson, just about set for the second half. 9-7 Chargers in front of the Cleveland Browns. As we welcome you back to the booth, Spiro Dedes alongside Adam Archuleta. We talked about this juggernaut of a Chargers offense, how good they've been at him the last couple of weeks. Have to be pretty impressed with Greg Williams' defense.
Yeah, and he came into this game knowing that it would be tough on first and second down to go match up with Phillip Rivers, but it's been a bend but don't break defense, and San Diego's been able to convert third downs and get in the scoring position, but field goals. You can hold this offense and Phillip Rivers to 3 field goals. That's a win.
All right, Josh Gordon, of course, the major headline for the Cleveland Browns, his first regular season game since December the 21st of 2014. Didn't waste a lot of time. His first catch on their very first play. What did you see from him?
Well, it was the big play, the important play, 3rd and short, and they throw a strike outside against a top-notch cover corner, and he comes down with a big play. That led to their touchdown, and that's the part and the dimension and the element that the Browns have been missing this season. Great play.
So there's Gordon trying to get his body right. Just an incredible physical specimen. Still looks the part, certainly, after nearly 3 calendar years away from the game. So here's Zane Gonzalez as he will boot it away to get the second half started. Told you about where the Chargers sit. That 0-4 start. They've won 5 of 7, including 2 straight. A win today, combined with that Kansas City loss at MetLife against the Jets, would pull them even with the Chiefs incredibly atop the AFC West. So Andy Reid and Kansas City keeping tabs on this one intently as we take a look at them at the numbers in that first half.
Yeah, you can see the Chargers they're moving the football. 254 yards in the first half is really good. 5 of 8 on third downs, but it's about the red zone, and that's a place where Cleveland has really struggled with this season. But so far in this game, that has been the difference.
So Phillip Rivers will work from the gun where he's been so comfortable. AFC Offensive Player of the Week. And what it is, his 188th consecutive start to move in front of Eli Manning. They'll go underneath here, and that pass, boy, hitting Austin Eckler right on the hands is incomplete. One of the few mistakes that the undrafted rookie out of Little Division II Western State has made over the last couple of weeks.
Let's take a look at this pass. Eckler in motion going behind, and that is clearly a forward pass. But, the LA Chargers are a good first down passing offense. They really get good production on that. In this game today, hasn't been as good.
Eckler trying to trace that ball out of the shadows as that Rivers pass is caught. That's Keenan Allen down by contact immediately after the catch. That knee was down, a pickup of a dozen, and a Chargers first down.
This is chemistry, and that's what you've seen in the last 2 weeks. Great chemistry between Rivers and Allen. He leads them inside just a little bit, tries to maybe spin him inside to get some yards after the catch, but really easy connection against off coverage. The Browns cornerbacks play off almost more than any other secondary in the National Football League, and those outs are pretty easy completions.
Allen with his 6th catch. Now 63 yards, 1st and 10. Rivers back to the air, has his man wide open. It's Henry. Looked like a breakdown by that Cleveland defense as Henry was left completely unaccounted for on the sideline. A pickup of 25 and another big first down.
Phillip Rivers sees everything. Too deep coverage, but the eye discipline over there at cornerback, he doesn't get any depth. Does not get his hands on the tight end. He's looking inside, trying to steal an option route, and Rivers is able to fit that ball in before the safety comes over the top.
Fifth catch for Henry, 63 yards. As he follows up his 76-yard performance Thanksgiving Day in Dallas. 1st and 10 now inside Cleveland territory. Rivers all day to throw, steps into that pass, and it is incomplete. As we will send you to New York, get an update from that Cincinnati game. Here's Boomer.
All right, Spiros, Cleveland actually at the LA Chargers that you are doing, and down here Carolina versus New Orleans Saints. Christian McCaffrey right off of a little drop-off pass from Cam Newton. We got a track meet. It's 21-14 Saints over the Panthers. Back to Spiro and Adam.
All right, Boomer. McCaffrey was a question mark with a shoulder injury going into that game. So not only playing, but it's a huge impact. In the meantime here, one of the key pieces to Greg Williams' defense, Jason McCourty, being looked at. McCourty missed a couple of games with an ankle injury last month. An injury that he actually sustained on a practice in Wednesday. It's an obvious concern here on that sideline. You saw the collision between him and Hunter Henry, the big tight end, who came down with all of his weight as the trainer's taking a closer look. It looks like Jason McCourty is okay. You saw him clutching at his lower back after Hunter Henry came down on top of him out of bounds on the near side of the field, the Chargers sideline. McCourty, who's been so important to Greg Williams in this defense.
You got Mike Jordan, who is in press coverage against Travis Benjamin, is the replacement. See if Rivers goes after him.
Rivers far side of the field does go in that direction. It is caught. That's Benjamin, who has come on after a quiet start in this game. Benjamin with his 4th catch of the day now, moving over the 60-yard mark. A pickup of 9. Well, how about the AFC West? We told you where Anthony Lynn's team was. 0-4 start. A win today with the Kansas City loss at the Jets pulls the Chargers in a first-place tie with Andy Reid and the Chiefs. Just hard to believe after where this team was at 0-4 after that first quarter of the season and the opportunity they have in front of them. 3rd and 1. Little shovel pass by Rivers. Boy, Gordon needed the 31-yard line, but well short as they lose 3. Well played by Jason McCourty, who comes right back into the game and makes the play.
Yeah, he is a really good tackling corner. Gets involved in the run game, and that time he was matched up with Allen. Allen goes in to crack down on a linebacker inside, and he replaces out there and makes the play.
You like this decision?
I'm fine with this decision. I think the Chargers have been able to move the ball and make plays. They just haven't been able to score.
Keep in mind their kicking situation. Travis Coons, if you've just joined us, just signed him on Wednesday after they had to shut Nick Novak down for the season with that back injury. They'll roll the dice here. 4th and 4. Rivers taking a shot near side. Allen with the catch. There is a marker thrown. Allen defended by McCourty. And we'll see if this play stands.
Well, double move, and McCourty kind of sits on it, and Allen runs into him.
Prior to the pass, illegal contact, number 30, defense. Penalties declined. Results of the play, 1st down.
26-yard pass play, Rivers to Allen.
Yeah, McCourty lined up right about 7 yards, and you can see he thinks something quick is coming inside, and as Allen goes by him, he kind of hooks him with that left arm, and that's an easy call.
So Allen following up that career performance in Dallas on Thanksgiving Day where he had 172 yards. Now has 7 catches, 89 yards, and that his long one of the day at 26.
Would not be shocked to see the Chargers run it down here.
1st and goal. They do indeed keep it on the ground. This is Gordon finding the edge inside the 5. Able to get downhill to the 3-yard line, tackled by the rookie safety Peppers. A pickup of a half dozen.
Well, what a block inside by Hunter Henry playing fullback. And No, the Chargers, when they've gotten down here so far in this game, they've been throwing it on first and second down. They are really good when they can use their play action game down here, and they haven't been able to use it. So running the ball right here, maybe running it again, can maybe open up some play action opportunities that they've been so good at.
Injured Cleveland player is Danny Shelton, who has really become one of the top run-stuffing interior defensive linemen, certainly in the AFC this season. And just keep in mind all the injuries that the Browns have had. We mentioned earlier they lose Emmanuel Ogbah a couple of weeks ago. Done for the season. Foot injury. Jamie Collins with that knee ligament tear. He's done for the year. And so they'll take a look at Shelton on that Cleveland sideline. This will be the 9th play of the drive that began at the LA 22. 2nd and goal. And Gordon is going backwards. Larry Ogunjobi, the rookie from Charlotte, their 3rd-round pick, making first contact.
Exactly how you do it. Greg Williams talks about knockback, playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage. The penetration right there against Spencer Pulley does not allow Gordon to get anything going. That is a great play. Now, the Chargers have to go to more of a drop back. This is a classic sprint out set. Watch for Rivers drifting to his right, trying to hit Allen out of the slot.
Loss of 4 pushes him back to the 7. Rivers slinging it. End zone wide open is Allen for the touchdown. And the Chargers build on their lead.
This is route running. As Allen widens in the slot number 13, he's going to widen McCourty, get him to get both his feet off of the ground and then go right back inside. He is really a nice route runner inside. I thought it was going to be a sprint out pass, but when Rivers needs something to happen, it's usually number 13.
5th touchdown catch of the season for Allen and his 4th in their last 3 games. And for Phillip Rivers, career touchdown pass number 335 on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Low fares, no hidden fees. That's transparency. Cricket Wireless. Something to smile about. And by McDonald's. I'm loving it.
A trio of Chargers legend honored here at halftime. Danny and Tomlinson on hand to assist in the ceremony. Fred Dean, the great Charlie Joyner, and Ron Mix getting their Chargers Hall of Fame rings. And a wonderful halftime ceremony here at StubHub Center. 4th consecutive scoring drive orchestrated by Phillip Rivers. 3 field goals and finally into the end zone for their first touchdown on the day. 5th touchdown reception of the season for Keenan Allen. 16-7 Chargers in front. Matthew Day has taken a knee. They'll have it from the 25. Oh, Saturday, nothing like it. Army looking to capture the Commander-in-Chief's trophy for the first time in 21 years when they look to take down the midshipmen once again. It'll be the 118th Army-Navy game. Coverage begins with college football today, 2:30 Eastern. Right here on CBS, then Brad Nessler, Garrett Danielson, Allie LaForce will have the call. Nothing quite like that rivalry. Army snapping Navy's 14-game winning streak in one of sports' greatest rivalries last season, and we will be watching next Saturday. Spiro Ditas, Adam Archuleta, rest of our CBS crew from Carson. On a beautiful Sunday, boy, that Kaiser pass nearly picked right off the hands of Casey Hayward, who has been just off the charts this season, playing with a heavy heart today. He'll be thinking about that one.
All over it, just sitting on it. He does not respect Gordon going deep in any way, shape, or form. He's looking inside, reading Kaiser. He knows the ball is going to come out and almost comes down with another interception on the season.
Hayward just over 24 hours removed from burying his younger 27-year-old brother after that tragic automobile accident late Monday in Macon, Georgia. This is Isaiah Crowell crossing the 30, getting out to the 35-yard line. For those of you just joining us, Hayward left the team on Tuesday, was with his family all week. There's a tragedy striking that family again. Lost his mother to breast cancer in July of 2016. His mother Tish, and can't even think about what that young man has gone through this week. Looks like Cleveland will take a timeout here as Hugh Jackson tries to get organized with 3rd and 1 coming up.
This is a huge 3rd down for Hugh Jackson and the Cleveland Browns. You saw Phillip Rivers go right down the field and put up a touchdown after halftime. This is one that the Browns have to have.
And now they give Cleveland a timeout back. And so they wanted to get that play clock reset. So it looks like the Browns will get this timeout back. And that is now what Walt Coleman will get sorted out here with his officiating crew. Our cameras catching Phillip Rivers on the sideline mouthing the words, "They called timeout. You can't do that under those circumstances." Adam, you read lips?
Not very good, but I'll take your word for it.
Officials get it all sorted out, so Cleveland will keep that timeout. And this will be a 3rd and 1 here. We'll see how Kaiser handles this.
I say you run it.
Situation.
You've had some pretty good success running up inside against this defense. And I would say that you run it or run some kind of quarterback action off of it. Isaiah Crowell in the game. Their last 3rd and short, it was Duke Johnson, and he got stuck.
They do indeed run it. And Crowell tackled by Jaleel Adai, a pickup of 3 as Hugh Jackson trusting that running attack that has been a little bit better the last couple of weeks.
Left side of the offensive line, and the tight end Seth DeValve, number 87, just washes it right down inside. There's so much space there that Adai cannot put enough of his body on Crowell to make that tackle before the line to gain.
And some trickery here by Hugh Jackson as he goes deep into his play sheet.
The Chargers have adjusted well.
Only 3 offensive linemen in front of Kaiser's going to put some air under it. Has a man down the field. It's deflected, broken up, and incomplete. Boy, Gordon had a step on Trevor Williams on the sideline, but Kaiser a little bit underthrown with that pass.
A little bit underthrown, and Josh Gordon is open. You see him run right by Williams. If that ball is thrown inside, you know, Williams is playing on the outside leverage right there. You throw that ball inside, and there's no safety in there to make the play on the ball. That's a miss by Kaiser and a missed opportunity for potentially a big play.
Josh Gordon, if you've just joined us, 3 catches, 46 yards, including a leaping 28-yarder against Casey Hayward late in the first half. On 2nd and 10, that pass is caught. That's Kenny Britt. Football comes loose, but the officials say the whistle had been blown and the play was over as Britt was lit up on that Charger sideline. So it's a pickup of only 2, and that clock running with under 9 left in the quarter. It was Denzel Perriman who came up and made the hit, and boy, from that vantage point,
absolutely.
Looked like perhaps a catch and then a turnover or just an incompletion. 3rd and 7. Kaiser under pressure. That pass deflected and incomplete. Looking for Duke Johnson. Jaleel Adai getting a hand on it. And what a season he's putting together for Gus Bradley and the Chargers.
He really is. He spends a lot of his time playing inside as a linebacker. This is the 2nd or 3rd time today that there has been a free rusher at DeShone Kizer with nobody blocking him off of the edge. Kizer thinks that he has a matchup, but Adai with a great break on the football and gets off the field.
Adai, who missed a number of games last year, that collarbone injury that cost him 8 games. Their leading tackler entering week 13 makes a huge play here. Good looking punt by Colquitt. This is Benjamin. The ex-Cleveland Brown walks a tightrope, a return of 10 on CBS. Chargers have put together 4 straight scoring drives. First time into the end zone on that last possession. This offense that has come alive the last couple of weeks. 54 points 2 weeks ago in the win over the Bills. And then last week, Thanksgiving Day in Dallas, 28 points. They rolled up over 500 yards of total offense as they play with a 9-point lead.
Hey, no easy, no tight balls. 53's the mic. 53's the mic.
You can hear Rivers calling out Schobert as the Mike linebacker. This is Gordon. We had a chance to visit with Rivers on Friday. We asked them, what the mindset was of the team. They were 0-4. They looked up Kansas City at that point, was undefeated at them. They looked invincible. And Rivers just basically kind of gathered his team and said, look, let's just put our heads down and grind and see if we can't get back into this thing. And here they are.
And you can read all the stats about starting 0-2, 0-3, 0-4, but this goes to show you that if you keep playing, that anything can really happen before this thing is over.
Rivers on 2nd and 9 finds Henry, who loses his hat. Hard hit as he's brought down just across the 30-yard line, a pickup of 5. The other interesting thing that Rivers pointed out as we take another look at the Henry catch, hard hit as Schobert and Kirksey were there to sandwich Henry. Rivers pointed out, look, we don't have a lot of guys on this offense who've played many meaningful games in the month of December. And he kind of circled that Week 15 game coming up in Kansas City as a game that could very well decide who wins this division.
Empty formation, no backs in the backfield. Rivers looking for a blitz to try and exploit it with a short pass.
This is Allen on the catch. Forced out of bounds by McCourty at the 40-yard line. They pick up 8 and another Chargers first down.
Boy, they are just so good at their matchups. They spread everybody out. Keenan Allen is on the slot. They're going to find him matched up with Joe Schobert. Allen pushes inside, and Schobert has no chance whatsoever to try and make that play. That is a mismatch and a big win for Rivers.
So Allen with that play over the 100-yard mark, 9 catches, 3rd straight 100-yard game. That's the best streak and the first time he's done that in his career. Gordon unable to find any daylight. Carl Nassib on the tackle. We mentioned the schedule in that Week 15 matchup for the Chargers, a game that they will play in Kansas City. They are very well positioned. One of the easier, and I say easy in quotation marks, I know you don't like that, but the easier strength of schedules the rest of the way in the NFL.
You look at it, I think any of those teams, Kansas City certainly is capable of winning. The Jets, the way they're playing, can win. And the Oakland Raiders, they have the firepower. They can put together a little bit of defense. It's not going to be an easy December. They're going to have to play their best, and they have.
Chargers will end the season against the Raiders right here in Carson. Rivers, little sidearm delivery, somehow gets that pass away. Right in the face of pressure to Melvin Gordon. A pickup of 5. Boy, he had Nassib right in his face. And Rivers just so tough in the pocket, able to get it off.
It's one of the things that really has kind of been defining his season. His ability to make huge throws, accurate throws, anticipatory throws under immense pressure. And there are a few plays in last week's game against the Cowboys. You sit there and you watch, you're like, how in the heck did he get that ball off? But he has been brilliant at evading the pressure.
Turns 36 next month. Boy, has he found the fountain of youth. Rivers on 3rd and 5, again under pressure. Near side of the field, it's caught. Tyrell Williams has been quiet till this point. 8 yards and a big Chargers first down.
Blitz pickup inside. Exactly how you do it. Derek Kindred, the strong safety. You see Eckler pick it up, and that gives Rivers just the amount of time he needs to spot Williams breaking to the outside.
For Williams, his first catch as they get set for what will be their 7th play of the drive. Inside Browns territory. One play call. This is Eckler. And yeah, Adam, you just mentioned the blitz pickup. We'd be remiss not to mention the play of their offensive line. That's been the question mark for this team the last couple of years, and the preseason this year, the one question everyone asked, can they finally protect Rivers? Because if they can, they have weapons at every major skill position.
Yeah, they took 36 sacks last year in meaningful games in December. A big reason for that is because Rivers has not had an offensive line that has been healthy. So this is kind of new territory here for the Chargers this season with kind of all their players, their key players in the lineup.
Gordon, the lone setback, takes the handoff. He's got some daylight. Gordon inside the 20, still going. Finally brought down by McCourty. A 29-yard burst by Gordon as he gashes this Cleveland defense.
You don't see a lot of teams do this, but in this game, Spencer Pulley has really done a great job pulling around the corner, sealing off Joe Schobert. Pulley basically takes two players. There's no backside linebacker to pick up Gordon, and as soon as he sees it, you know, they kind of started off the game with this exact same play that was a pretty big play, but this time he gets into that Cleveland Browns secondary.
First time as a full-time NFL starter is Spencer Pulley. Russell Okung, of course, their big offseason free agent acquisition. He's been huge in pulling this team together. They, of course, lost Matt Slauson. Season-ending injury. And keep in mind, Forrest Lamp, the young man who they took in the second round, who a lot of people were excited about, lose him to an ACL in the preseason. So all things considered, just amazing how quickly they put this together.
And don't forget, Dan Feeney, their third-round pick out of Indiana, he's the one who came in for Slauson and started Week 8. He has been a terrific run blocker over there next to Russell Okung. Watch the play action pop pass.
Play action indeed. Quick strike. Allen. Football comes loose. We'll see if that's a live football. No signal yet. Chargers say they have it. Dangerous looking play. So the Chargers do indeed recover as they dodge a bullet here. Clock running with under 2 minutes left in the quarter.
Now I think it was Nate Orchard, who is the defensive end, was running from inside out, number 44. Comes in there right at the end. It was either 44 or it was either Orchard or Kirksey. Can't quite tell, but boy, that could have been a huge play for the Browns, and the Chargers very fortunate to pick up that ball.
It was indeed Nate Orchard who jarred it loose from Keenan Allen. And this long drive continues.
This formation, it was Allen in the slot on a slant. Will they go again?
Rivers, 11th play of the drive, throwing towards the end zone, incomplete. Allen trying to make what would have been an incredible one-handed touchdown catch. Good coverage on the back end by that Cleveland defense. It'll be 4th down and they'll kick.
Oh, it really was. You get what you want. It's Keenan Allen isolated on a safety out there, and Kai Nakua, rookie out of Brigham Young. Exactly, but Nakua stayed inside, forced him out to the pylon, and not enough room for Rivers to fit that ball in there.
So Greg Williams' defense again, that bend but don't break, as Travis Coons, boy, a little bit lower than he would have liked, but able to bang it in from 27 yards out.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Kay Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. And by Honda, introducing the all-new Accord, the most impressive Honda ever.
Back with you, StubHub Center, as we're taking another look at the Travis Coons kick. Boy, you rarely see a football off a kick come out with such a tight spiral. It was actually deflected at the line of scrimmage by Carl Nassib. So Coons will take it. 27-yard field goal as the Chargers build on their lead, now up by a dozen. Coons, whom they just signed on Wednesday after a Tuesday tryout, taking the place of Nick Novak, who had to be shut down and placed on injured reserve with that back injury. Good kick by Coons here. Days takes a knee, and Kaiser will have it from the 25. Well, next Sunday, the NFL postseason chase heats up. Minnesota, Carolina, two of the NFC's top teams colliding. Elsewhere, Washington will take on these Chargers and Phillip Rivers. Check your local listings. Kick off your day with JB Phil, Coach Nate, and Boomer on the NFL Today, noon Eastern time, right here on CBS. Sun starts to set over StubHub Center. A short drive from downtown Los Angeles. On 1st and 10, this is Kaiser handing to Crowell, who comes in today off his best game of the season last week. That's a loss in Cincinnati in which he rushed for 95 yards, and he's been better. Kind of struggled through the first half of the year. Their leading rusher at him each of the last 3 years, and this is a big year. He's in a contract year.
Now, the main thing you saw in the last 2 weeks has been his patience inside. You know, not always looking for the home run ball, but reading his blocks, following it up in there. He's been pretty good.
Final 30 seconds of the quarter as Kaiser goes to Njoku, who's made a couple of terrific plays in this game. Clock still running, pickup of a half dozen, and a Browns first down. See if they run one more play here. Kaiser now 8 of 16, 95 yards and a touchdown. Final play of the quarter. Kaiser will take a shot and incomplete as he overthrows Josh Gordon once again. That'll take us to the end of the third. Back to Los Angeles right after this. Oh, it's been such a crazy year in the AFC West. This is what the division standings look like after week 4. Kansas City 4-0, looked invincible. The Chargers, of course, losing their first 4 games, left for dead by so many around the league. And fast forward to today, the Chiefs beaten at MetLife by the Jets. So a win today by the Chargers and the Raiders, and it will be a 3-way tie incredibly atop the division. And at last check, Oakland a 3-point lead over the Giants in a game that's being played in Oakland. So we begin the fourth. Sean Kaiser on 2nd and 10, facing pressure, and that pass severely overthrown, a late marker thrown, multiple flags. Actually 3 of them all in the same vicinity.
Well, both Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram just completely blew past.
Pass interference, number 20, defense. Ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
That's the rookie Desmond King, who made the big play earlier. And suddenly that breathes some life into this Cleveland offense. Turns out to be a 26-yard penalty. King, their 5th-round pick out of Iowa. Actually entering week 13, the 12th highest graded cornerback in the NFL. It's a big penalty here. Will mark the football all the way down at the LA 37-yard line.
I love how King, before the draft, called his shot and said that his first interception was going to be a pick 6. And he came out with a 90-yarder last week.
Thanksgiving Day game in Dallas as Duke Johnson is blown up. What a play by Joey Bosa. NFL's defensive rookie of the year last season with the 10.5 sacks, dumps him for a loss of 2.
Boy, he is so good against the run and so good at getting inside with those stunts. And the Browns do not even pick him up, but he is relentless in his pursuit in the backfield. You watch Bosa, and there is not a weakness to his game. He can stay healthy. He'll be one of the best.
Tied for 5th in sacks. Kaiser a little underneath pass. What a play by Johnson. Maintaining his body position and very close to the first down. He's been one of the top pass-catching running backs since 2015. Boy, how did he keep his legs here and pick up 11?
That's kind of his scouting report. You know that if he catches the ball, you've got to be a sure tackler. You have to keep your feet. You got to wrap them up, but he's been doing that to a lot of linebackers and safeties this year.
Kaiser on 3rd and 1. Flag is thrown as Kaiser and Gordon have lost that early chemistry that they had. Gordon against Trevor Williams that time. Looks like this one is against Cleveland, trying to decide what Anthony Lynn wants to do.
Illegal formation on the offense. We only had 6 men on the line of scrimmage. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
All right, so Lynn elects to take the penalty and push him back 5 yards as Hugh Jackson looks down at that play sheet. Another reminder, Thursday, NFC South Showdown, New Orleans and Atlanta. Thursday Night Football, NFL Network, NBC, and streaming live on Amazon Prime Video. Hugh Jackson coming back to his hometown, hoping that this is the place where he can finally get a win this season with Cleveland. Kaiser, flag thrown, and set the valve, the tight end, who is lit up at the 30, very close to the first down marker with his forward momentum, but now we'll sort through the penalty call. As Walt Coleman suddenly has become very busy.
Illegal use of hands, hands to the face, number 20, defense. 5-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Wow. Second penalty on this possession against the rookie King.
Tough series. King was having a good game. I believe that's him in the slot. And trying to get a good jam, and just the right hand gets under the chin strap of Ricardo Lewis. You see the right hand perfectly placed right there. Easy call. And it gives the Cleveland Browns and DeShone Kizer some life.
And just when you thought the Chargers had seized the momentum, suddenly Cleveland moving down the field. And a pass a little bit low by Kizer, but caught. Nicely done by Kenny Britt, who has been in and out of Hugh Jackson's doghouse this season. A pickup of 7 here, tackled by Trevor Williams.
The one thing that the Browns have really done a nice job of is neutralizing the pass rush of Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa. You've seen a lot of quick passes, a lot of shots down the field, but they have not been able to get to Kizer.
Browns desperately need to get into the end zone here. As we play early stages of the fourth, Duke Johnson Jr. trying to follow his lead blockers inside the 20. And this, keep in mind, Adam, this is where Kizer has really struggled, as Johnson does have enough for the first down, but Kizer has made some big mistakes in the red zone this season. He has been a little bit better there of late.
And because of that, they've been a lot more conservative in the red zone. That's why he has 5 rushing touchdowns of their 9 rushing touchdowns this year, but he's going to have to open it up and make some plays here if they want to get into the end zone on this drive.
8th play of the drive. Kizer under pressure just throws it through the back of the end zone. Nicely done with that pressure coming in a hurry. Desmond King was coming with the heat for the Chargers.
Just talked about the not much of an impact from Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa, but they have had some great production. It's about the 3rd or 4th time that Desmond King has come off the slot unblocked. They have had a really hard time with that protection, and if I was Gus Bradley, I would keep dialing up number 20 and take some free shots at Kizer. They have not picked it up yet.
Second and 10. Kizer again, back of the end zone, incomplete. Intended for Njoku. Nicely covered by Jaleel Addae, who's getting them fired up behind their sideline.
Jaleel Addae, we already talked about him, made a huge play on 3rd down a couple series ago, is having a career season this year. A lot of it because of how good he is in the run game, but here they've tried to isolate him a couple times against a pretty athletic tight end, and he's had great coverage. They like to move around Melvin Ingram. He's coming off the left side.
Kizer flushed out, trying to buy himself some time, throws on the run, and it is incomplete. Excellent pursuit by the Chargers. Duke Johnson, the intended receiver. And a 10-play Cleveland drive will stall, as once again Addae was there on the coverage. So here is Zane Gonzalez. See what he's done this season. This will be his first attempt on the afternoon. A rookie out of Arizona State, young man whom they took with the 7th round pick. Struggled initially, but starting to settle in. Braden Colquitt is the holder, and Gonzalez is good from 35 yards out. So Cleveland inching a little bit closer with a 9 on CBS. Coming up after the game, time permitting, the State Farm postgame show from New York. JB, Phil, Nate Boomer, and Coach Cower will have all the latest NFL scores and highlights as a busy Week 13 continues around the NFL. Coming up on the State Farm postgame show. Field goal by Zane Gonzalez gets the Cleveland Browns within 9 as they look to win their first game since Christmas Eve of last season. 0-11 here in Week 13. And the team that they beat that day, the then San Diego Chargers. This is Desmond King. A nice little spin move, breaking tackles, and all the way to the 50. Electrifying play by King as he returns it 44 yards. Finally tackled by Danny Vitale.
Anthony Lynn looking for something good to go right with his special teams, and the rookie who had a rough drive previously against the Browns does a brilliant job making a tackler miss, getting upfield, and now giving Rivers the ball at the 50-yard line. What an answer from the playmaker, Desmond King.
Well, it was B.J. Bello who King put in the old spin cycle with their beautiful maneuver. So 1st and 10, they actually spotted just short of the 50. Rivers, little fake, has his man, and they complete. That's the tight end, Hunter Henry. A little bit slow to get to his feet. Henry, who's been so good the last couple of weeks, a pickup of 13. It's a first down. What appears to be the right leg that's causing Henry some discomfort.
Boy, was that amazing or what?
But just as he planted that leg, Derek Kindred came over. Dangerous looking play, and you hope that Henry is okay here. 7th catch, 81 yards. Of course, the heir apparent here to the great Antonio Gates, and now the athletic trainers onto the field.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Tide. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Hunter Henry, is escorted off the field on his own power, trying to determine if that right leg injury is serious enough here to hold him out. Try to get an update on him as quickly as we can. So for the moment, Henry on the sideline, 1st and 10 inside the Cleveland 40. Run play called. This is Gordon, able to find the edge and fighting his way to the 30 as we go to New York. JB and Boomer.
Shades of Boomer and Eddie Brown. That's right. A little shallow cross by Sammy Watkins, 11 yards, as the Rams now extend their lead over the Arizona Cardinals, 26-13. 6 plays, 30 yards. Jared Goff having a pretty good game.
Spiro and Adam, I know I dusted off some old names with that Boomer and
Wait a minute, I'm not that old, JB. Calm down.
Boomer getting some love, as he always should. As the Chargers crosstown rivals here in LA, the Rams putting together an incredible season. Gordon going backwards. Well played by the left side of that Cleveland defensive front. Joe Schobert, who we told you earlier, 2nd in the league in tackles entering Week 13. Only Zach Brown of Washington in front of him. And this run defense has been one of the best in the NFL.
Yeah, you know, Anthony Lynn wants to have a strong running game. And that's kind of what he envisioned this football team being. And they know that, you know, it's Phillip Rivers in the passing game, and that's going to be their identity. But right now in the 4th quarter, when you have a 9-point lead, is when you've got to be at your best running the football, and you just can't afford to have negative plays putting you in 3rd and 7.
4 wide receivers make it 5 for Rivers. 3rd and 7. Rivers, far side of the field, incomplete. Trying to find Keenan Allen matched up with Jason McCourty. And on 4th and 7, Anthony Lynn will send out Kaiser and his punt unit.
Great disguise, showing coverage, and then on the snap, looping around. And Spencer Pulley, the right guard there, Kenny Wiggins, cannot get off in time. It's amazing that Rivers was able to get that ball off, but that is a really well-disguised blitz from the linebacker, Derek Burgess.
This will be the Chargers' first punt today at the 9:57 mark of this 4th quarter. Kaiser trying to angle it inside the 10, and it takes a beautiful Chargers bounce inside the 5. Beautifully placed. Kaiser celebrating with a 33-yarder. Now, Drew Kaiser's first punt of the afternoon was a thing of beauty as they pinned Cleveland back inside their own 5-yard line. And a tough set of circumstances here for the 21-year-old rookie quarterback, DeShone Kizer.
And the Browns know they need 2 possessions, so pace has to be at a premium. They just don't have enough time to take their time.
Set the valve in motion. Kizer fakes the handoff, throwing up the seam. He's got his man. Wide open is Njoku. No flags as Kizer hits him in stride. They pick up 33.
Boy, what a thing of beauty. David Njoku has had a really good game today, and they've dialed up his number 85. He's come through, and what a throw by Kizer as he splits the Charger safeties.
Longest play of the day for the Browns. 3 catches for Njoku, 68 yards, including the touchdown. 1st and 10 just outside the 35. This is Crowell moving that pile, getting close to the 44-yard line, finally tackled by Denzel Perryman. A pickup of 7. Another look at the Kizer throw. Brilliant.
Yeah, thing of beauty, and it was really a nice route. He's matched up with the safety right there, Adrian Phillips, and once he clears Phillips, he bends it inside to the middle of the field. There's no linebacker running through, and you can see just how good that throw was from Kizer.
Well, you wonder how these guys get up sometimes after the punishing hits, the way their bodies hit the turf. Gladiators. 2nd and 3. Kizer to the air again, too high. Intended for Corey Coleman, who's been very quiet. Coleman dropping that, at least what appeared to be surefire touchdown last week in the loss against Cincinnati. Still trying to find his fitness after missing the 8 games with the hand injury. 3rd and 3 coming up.
We've seen the Browns, they've gone downfield and taken some shots here in 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 when they see press coverage. We haven't seen a lot of Duke Johnson out of the backfield. This is more of a protection set, so I'm not sure we're going to see him come out here, but they've got to make a play.
Kizer pump fakes, trying to buy himself some time. He's going to run for it. Kizer extends, and it looks as though he's got it. No signal yet from the official. And they do say 1st down Cleveland. What a play by Kizer.
You got a game coming on the left side with Melvin Ingram going inside. He loves to rush inside and beat tackles across their face, but there is no contain out there. And as he's done now for the last 3 or 4 games, Kizer making plays on 3rd and medium.
Kizer, the 52nd overall pick. Toledo, Ohio native, about a 90-minute drive outside Cleveland. Kizer underneath over the middle as they now move inside LA territory. That's Njoku again. A pickup of 6. So what a moment this is for Kizer, the young man that they took. He's been benched twice. That failed trade for A.J. McCarron.
He's played his best in the last 3 games, his 2 best games of the season.
Protected well here, but that pass a little bit too low, and he and Gordon just cannot seem to get on the same page, at least in this second half. It'll be 3rd and 4.
Yeah, but the coverage is just brilliant. Casey Hayward, a master at the line of scrimmage, doesn't lose his patience. Look how quickly he comes out of the breaks, and there is absolutely no separation from Josh Gordon. It's just pretty amazing what kind of game and what Casey Hayward has had to go through today, but he has been all over the place.
Well, no one on that Chargers side knew whether Hayward would play today. And what a game he has played, putting all the emotions aside after the death of his brother earlier this week. 3rd and 4. Kizer's pass is caught. That's DeValve. 1st down and more. All the way down to the 22-yard line.
A lot of movement in the secondary. Pay attention to all the Chargers defenders running around, having a hard time getting set up. And DeValve just runs a shallow crosser, and there's nobody on the backside to be able to pick him up. So the Browns catching the Chargers off guard and hitting a huge play to the tight end.
25 yards sets up a 1st and 10. Kaiser, little check down play. Johnson getting that nifty little spin move as he is just barely able to get back to the original line of scrimmage. And very close. Reminder coming up after the game, again, time permitting. You'll have the State Farm post-game show. JB and the fellas standing by in New York. Scores and highlights around the league. Week 13 coming up on the State Farm post-game show.
Again, the offensive line and the tackles in particular have blocked really well against the edge pressure of the Chargers. Now, they have not been able to pick up the slot blitz, but they've been kind of handling those guys out one-on-one, and that's given Kaiser some time here, especially in the second half, to deliver some nice balls.
Play clock down to 1. Kaiser didn't even think about it. Running for it. Take it on tacklers. And look at Kaiser showing the toughness. Lowering that right shoulder. Runs for 18 yards. Finally tackled by a die. It'll be 1st and goal.
It looked like Kaiser saw this before the snap. He just takes it upon himself to run a quarterback draw, make somebody miss, and now they're in business.
Johnson eluding the first tackler. Johnson still going, that late marker thrown as Johnson forced out of bounds right around the 2 by Joey Bosa. As those two exchange some words at the end of the play.
Chargers are having a hard time in this drive getting lined up. The Browns are catching them off guard.
Holding, number 19, offense. 10-yard penalty, 1st down.
That's Corey Coleman.
Corey Coleman is the top. You see how he has his arms around Trevor Williams. That's an easy call on the perimeter. Huge play right there. It was one heck of an effort for Duke Johnson to try and make something happen and get out of bounds, but it's a bad hold out there by Coleman.
Gus Bradley's defense, which entered the day peaking at just the right time. We're hoping for a stop. Kaiser throwing end zone incomplete. Once again looking for Gordon. And guess who? It's Hayward again.
You know how hard this is when you're playing outside technique on an in-breaking route, and to be in that kind of position in the red zone is outstanding. He makes it look easy, but I promise you that is not an easy route to play considering the technique that they ask him to do. Casey Hayward is just having an unbelievable game.
And what a season he's had. Highest graded cornerback in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. 2nd and goal. Kaiser fakes to Crowell, throws a dart, incomplete. Intended for Coleman, and he takes a shot. What a play over the middle of the field by Trey Boston.
Oh, that was a tight window. Trying to run the pop pass, getting the nickel defender to come up, and Trevor Williams in great shape, had good presence inside from Boston. That is a really tough throw to make, and really well played by the Charger defense.
And now it looks like Hugh Jackson will take a timeout. This will be their first. By far their biggest play of the day. Want to get organized on a 3rd and goal coming up. Well, it's been a fun game till this point. Cleveland playing with a little bit more confidence the last couple of weeks. Some of the critical numbers. Josh Gordon, highly anticipated return, 3 catches, but has been a non-factor, held in check by Casey Hayward.
Now you can see Rivers and the offense have been pretty good. They just haven't been able to turn it into points in the red zone. And boy, I got to tell you, you've got 5 minutes left in the game. You're down by 9, critical 3rd down. Those timeouts, you're going to need those timeouts. And that is a bad play right there for the Browns to burn that timeout right here when they know they're going to need them.
Two-score game. Kaiser pump fakes. Here comes Bosa. Football is loose. Perryman headed initially. Who's got it? Chargers football.
Relentless effort and relentless pursuit from Joey Bosa coming from Kaiser's left side. And, you know, Kaiser knows it's 3rd and long. He's got to make a play, but he has to know that there is no time to hold the football because Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram are coming off of the edge, but this is all about holding the ball and trying to make something happen. Bosa comes around the edge, he's running the pursuit, and to have the instincts to chop at that football, get it off when his defense has to make a big play. Really nice.
Bosa, NFL's Defensive Rookie of the Year last year with 10.5 sacks. He has now eclipsed that number at 11.5 in what has been a great sophomore season.
Will be reviewed.
Okay, so Walt Coleman says that the play will now be under review.
Well, it's clearly a fumble, and
the question is, was the ball recovered inbounds? And that's what the officials will look at here. It was a clear recovery by Denzel Perryman, but was he inbounds as this thing kind of shifted towards that sideline?
Well, that's going to be tough. And, you know, Perryman and Adrian Phillips both had a chance at it. And they're trying to scoop and score, but at this point in the game, you just have to secure that football. There was a lot of traffic right there, and it's really tough to tell if they were able to recover that ball in bounds, but it'd be a huge break for the Browns.
Well, that will likely be the best replay angle that they have. And just a reminder, the logistics of this thing, Al Riveron in New York have the final say. They are looking at the same replay pictures that you are seeing at home. So they'll need conclusive evidence to overturn the call, which is a Chargers recovery. But was Perryman inbounds?
I think he was. I think when we look at the angle from the backside, that we're going to see that Perryman was able to recover that ball while still in bounds. But what a play. You know, Bosa had been quiet for most of the game in regards to rushing the passer. He's made some really nice plays against the run, but your defense has to make a play.
The ruling on the field stands. The recovery was made inbounds. First down, Chargers.
All right, so Coleman confirms the call, and a Chargers defense that had entered the day with 8 takeaways and 3 scored touchdowns in their last 2 games. Getting one right here for Anthony Lynn and company. Buoyed by the return of Denzel Perryman, who missed the first 8 weeks of the season with that ankle injury.
Both teams have played clean football today with no turnovers before that fumble.
And boy, another red zone turnover for the Browns. And that one a little bit easier to take with Kaiser just trying to make something happen down 9. We send you back to New York. Get another update with JB and Boomer.
Oakland now by 10.
Well, they go 8 plays, 79 yards, capped off by this DeAndre Washington 9-yard touchdown run. They take a 17-7 lead. By the way, JB, the Giants have only scored 1 offensive touchdown in their last 3 games.
8:36 and counting left in regulation. Back to Spiro Ditas.
All right, JB, could very well be a 3-way tie atop the division by the end of play today, as both the Raiders and Chargers close in on wins. 2nd and 5. This is Gordon. First down and more, crosses the 30. As Gordon putting himself together a nice little game. 17th carry, now over the 75-yard mark on the day. And Hugh Jackson will take his second timeout.
Yeah, the Browns defense has to be extremely tired at this point in the game. 5 of their 7 drives today have been 10 plays or more, and they've spent a lot of time on the field here in the second half.
Chargers have had the ball for 32 minutes till this point, and that number has gone up, as Adam pointed out, since halftime. This is when your fitness, your stamina certainly come into play as the Browns desperate for something here from Greg Williams' defense.
And you know what Anthony Lynn is looking for. He wants to see if this running game can close this thing out.
That's Gordon again. Anthony Lynn, actually a former running backs coach for the Browns, and that really was kind of his bread and butter. One of the more respected running backs coaches in the league before moving up the ranks. Of course, played the position. And now Hugh Jackson will take his final timeout with 3:49 left in the second half. We've showed you what the West looks like. What about the AFC playoff picture overall? New England an easy win today in Buffalo. Pittsburgh at number 2. And how about Tennessee? Up and down season that they've had. Back in that number 3 slot.
You know what's amazing really about the Chargers is that, yeah, 0-4 and trying to make the playoffs, but not just make the playoffs, they might win the division. That's even more impressive and more crazy when you think about that.
Told you earlier, the only team that has made the playoffs in the history of the league after an 0-4 start was the 1992 San Diego Chargers. Bobby Ross, of course, their coach. They ended up finishing that year 11-5 before losing to Miami in the divisional round. Then, of course, 2 years later, won the AFC title and lost in the Super Bowl to San Francisco. And the other thing we told you, their strength of schedule is tied for the second easiest from this point till the end of the season. They do have to play Kansas City on the road week 15, and then they'll end the year here against the Raiders. Boy, you hate that stat, don't you?
Ask the Lions how their remaining schedule was supposed to be and tell me how that's worked out for them.
Cleveland still trying to chase that first win of the year.
30-second timeout.
A little break in the action as the Chargers take a timeout. We mentioned 1992, that 0-4 start. Ugly, certainly looked bleak this year for Phillip Rivers and company, and everything changed in week 5. 5 of 7 games that they have won since, 2 straight lopsided wins over Buffalo and Dallas. And they are just a couple of minutes away from tasting first place incredibly here in week 13.
There's still a lot of football left. I think, Phillip Rivers knows and understands, and Anthony Lynn and Ken Wisenhunt and Gus Bradley. I think it's a nice little run that they've been on here as of late, but they know how much work is left to be done this season.
Hard to believe 25 years since that 1992 season, and Zeckler has tripped up just short of the 40-yard line. And it will be 4th down here as the punt team will come onto the field. Well, you talk about having a lot on your plate. It's tough to be a first-time, full-time head coach as Anthony Lynn is this year. Then, oh, by the way, your franchise is moving up the road to a new city. Then you start 0-4. It's just amazing how well Lynn has kept this thing together and the team together. And every one of his players you talk to, they all love him. And certainly deserves all the kudos that he gets.
Yep. And he's got some great people around him. He has a great quarterback. Ken Wisenhunt has been there before. Gus Bradley, a former head coach. So there's a lot of people and coaches on this staff that have been around a lot of football.
Johnson will play it, crosses the 30. And out of bounds just short of the 35-yard line. Good return of 13 after the 42-yard punt by Kaiser. Well, for those of you expecting to see 60 minutes, you're watching the NFL on CBS and the game between the Cleveland Browns and the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm Spiro Dedes alongside Adam Archuleta, rest of our CBS crew. Your score, the Chargers right now in front 19-10 with 2:08 to play in the 4th. 60 minutes will be seen in its entirety immediately following the game, except on the West Coast.
Well, basically the Browns have to do something that really hasn't defined their offense and be explosive. They have to score very quickly. They need some explosive plays and then try and recover an onside kick. Not an easy thing to do here with no timeouts and 2 minutes and 8 seconds left.
Kaiser 14 of 30, buck 76, and a touchdown. That pass is caught, beautifully thrown. This is Gordon taking on tacklers inside the 30, finally brought down by Hayward, a pickup of 39. And that takes us to the 2-minute warning.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon. Best gifts on the best network. And by Bud Light. Brewed to be enjoyed responsibly.
Now they're getting a little ice skating in at LA Live, downtown Los Angeles, as they get into the holiday spirit. 19-10. Chargers in front. Hugh Jackson and the Browns at 0-11. Haven't won a game since Christmas Eve of last season, Week 16 against these Chargers. Out of timeouts, $1:58 left. A 39-yard catch by Josh Gordon has them inside the 30 of the Chargers here, 1st and 10.
Yeah, they got the explosive play that they needed. Now Gordon is lined up in the slot.
Kaiser will pick up the blitz. Kaiser, little juke step maneuver, and takes a sack. What a play by Darius Philon.
Just can't happen. Time right now, you're going to lose 26 seconds right there. You've lost precious yardage. That ball has to come out. You have to throw it away. Josh Gordon ran all the way to the end zone. Now they have to wait for him to get off the field and substitute. That was a disaster of a play right there for the Cleveland Browns.
So much valuable time coming off the clock. Ricardo Lewis, the man who comes onto the field. 2nd and 13. That pass is intercepted. Picked off by Adrian Phillips. 2nd straight takeaway for the Chargers. Second pick on the season for Phillips and a 4th of his 3-year career.
Huge play right when they needed it. Adrian Phillips playing linebacker inside. He just reads the eyes of the quarterback. Deshaun Kaiser is trying to throw it inside to his tight end, who is, in all intents and purposes, triple coverage. There is no space for Seth the Valve to get it. Phillips is the underneath defender. He reads the eyes of Kaiser and seals it with a great pick. But that was brought on because of the inability to throw the ball away and taking that sack.
Well, you thought maybe they had some life after the Gordon play, but they run out of clock here as we go to New York and JB.
Giants within 3 of Oakland.
JB, just what I told you, they hadn't scored a touchdown in 3 games, or only 1. Here comes the second one. 7 plays, 88 yards. That's Evan Ingram, 10 yards from Geno Smith. Giants now down by 3. Raiders lead 17-14 and are driving on the Giants as we speak.
3:36 and counting left in regulation. Back to Spiro.
All right, Geno Smith resuscitating that Giants offense. Getting a little bit interesting down the stretch.
Resuscitating, is that what that is?
I knew you'd like that. 2nd and 11 as Rivers will take a knee, and the LA Chargers, after an 0-4 start here in Week 13, have somehow crept up and are now tied with Kansas City atop the AFC West. And a long nightmare of a season for Hugh Jackson and Cleveland continues.
Well, you can say this about the Cleveland Browns. In a lot of games this year, they've done some really good things, but they just haven't made the key plays that have been able to get them over the hump. And for the Chargers, you know, they've been peaking here at the right time and did a lot of good things in this game. The offense still very tough to stop. I know they're going to look at their red zone tape and see some things that they have to clean up because this game should not have been that close. Credit Phillip Rivers, the offense, the Chargers, and the defense for making those key plays late to seal this game.
Phillip Rivers, 31 of 43 for 344 yards. Tonight on CBS begins with 50 years of 60 Minutes, the most memorable moments. That'll be followed by the Carol Burnett 50th anniversary special and NCIS Los Angeles. It's tonight only CBS. So this is what the AFC postseason picture looks like. Starting to tighten up as Week 13 nearly behind us. Kansas City now 6-6. And look at the Chargers suddenly in the hunt. After a 3rd straight win, they are now 6-2 over their last 8 games. Hard to believe. Again, the final The Chargers win it 19-10 over Cleveland. Now tied with Kansas City atop the AFC West. Now for Adam Archuleta, our producer, Seller Shy, Jim Cornell, our director, rest of our CBS crew, Spiro Ditas saying goodnight from Los Angeles. You've been watching the NFL on CBS.